Natter with Marc Steele on Bow Radio.
Hey, it's A Wee Natter. I'm Marc Steele, and across the table from me should be Jenny Steele, but unfortunately, she is on what we can only describe as a bit of a religious pilgrimage. She's currently on her way to Norwich in order to acquire the sacred wall calendar. Said calendar has pictures of pussycats on it, that's all it has, but it is such a sacred wall calendar. She's on her way there and she's in Norwich at the moment, so unfortunately she cannot be with us, but I am joining you on my Todd on National Bakewell Tart Day. No, seriously, it's a bit of a weird marketing thing, but it's genuinely National Bakewell Tart Day today, which means I've got to ask you the obvious question: who's your favourite tart? Yeah, no, I can't go with the other question. I couldn't go with the other question, what's your favourite kind of tart? Because then, something like lemon tart winning on Bakewell Tart Day, it's ridiculous. But then the whole thing's marketing nonsense. And on a slightly different note, and getting us out of the gutter, you've been in touch. The Postbag has arrived, and we're asking the question, what did you only figure out way too recently? And Sam Culler's been in touch saying, for me, one of the things I found out is that I can get folic acid from Weetabix. I went for a blood test last year. Well, fair enough. You got to do these sort of things. And the result was that the folic acid levels were a bit low. I then looked at the box and found out the alternative name for folic acid is folate. And Weetabix has that in it. Well, there we go. We've learned something. And I'll admit, the way we've done it sounds very Alan Partridge. It's exactly what Disobedient Space Whale also said on YouTube. It reminds me of Alan Partridge, the things you don't see anymore: deep into swimming pools, hula hoops, the toy, not the crisp, and the hula hoops, the crisp, not the toy. Anyway, we'll talk about, a great opportunity you've never had before after a bit of Tina Turner. Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. Tina Turner with the theme from Goldeneye. It's A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2. Although, for talking about Goldeneye, cracking wee Bond film, although admittedly a bit dated nowadays, and even a bit dated when it came out, when they were talking about the evil people being involved and running off to the Soviet Union many years after the Soviet Union stopped being a thing. So ignoring that historical anomaly element to it, it also had a computer game that came with it, the GoldenEye video game for the Nintendo 64, which was fantastic and great fun at the time. I saw it recently, got a chance to play it again. It hasn't survived the test of time. No, don't even waste your time having a go at it. And talking about, I suppose going from James Bond to Supernatural, if we're going to stay in the movie world, and we're going to do something a bit strange and give you some superpowers. I'm going to get you to imagine that you now have the power of telepathy, and you can say something to all the 8 billion people that live on this fine planet right now. So we just give you that opportunity, we give you that superpower, and for one quick shot, one quick message, you can talk to absolutely everyone on Earth. If you had that opportunity, what would you do with that opportunity? Because it is a crazy opportunity. If we actually managed to organise that for you, it'd be absolutely nuts. And, I've been having to think about that one. A couple of options. You could go for something like, the number you've dialed has not been recognised. And that would just screw with people. Are we in some sort of computer simulation? Is something a bit weird going on? Or maybe, if you've got that opportunity, you start playing. Remember that U2 album that everyone got on their iPods, however many years ago? Start playing those songs and go, oh my, no, I never want to hear that again. Or knowing how it go for me, dear listener, if I had that opportunity and I made it happen, I would screw it up and I'd mumble something about chickens or something. I know that's how it's going. So instead, I'm going to put that power in your hands. You now have that superpower. You're going to have the ability to send one message through telepathy. So you don't have to worry about language or anything like that. You send it through telepathy to every single person on this fine planet that we happen to live on. Yeah, I know it's a crazy question, but I want to know, if you're given that fine opportunity, what question would you ask? And I'd love to hear you on the phone. Give me a call, 01623 888 730. It's just you and me, just having a chat about a weird question, like we're in the pub or something like that. You can text me 073 79 78 49 00, or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk and tell me, if we gave you that power of telepathy, What is that question that you're going to ask? And I bet it's a weird one. Shania Twain telling you to don't be stupid. It could have been a lot worse. I could have played you the dance remix. And before that, Daft Punk were Getting Lucky on A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2. I'm Marc, by the way. Thank you for joining me this fine Sunday evening.
Covers versus originals.
Indeed, is that the important moment in the show. And I thank you for joining me in this moment where we put you in charge of the music. In covers versus originals, it's in the title. Everything we do is basically the Ron Seal of radio features. We take a cover, we take an original, we pit them up against each other, and you decide which one's going to play on this fine radio station round about 7:30. And your options today are a little bit unusual because the cover came out before the original. You probably don't even know what song I'm going to talk about now. Yes, I Drove All Night. Cyndi Lauper's version came out before the Roy Orbison original version did. But it is up to you which of those is going to play. Get in touch. Give me a call. 01623 888 730. You can text 073 79 78 49 00. Or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk and tell me which version of I Drove All Night are you going to hear in a moment or two's time.
Coming out.
It's the Gorillas and Dare. Ooh. So we now from More Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2. I'm Marc. Thanks for joining me this fine Sunday evening and a wee bit earlier. I was going to say a wee bit later, I asked you something. We haven't figured out time travel to quite that level yet. But a wee bit earlier, I was asking you about if we give you the power of telepathy and you could send a single solitary message to everyone around the world, well, what would that message be? It's a lot of power. It's a lot of opportunity to put in the message out. You might even offer it up to McDonald's as an opportunity to sponsor you. But Vicky Fairweather was in touch saying, "Hi Marc, I'd want to tell the world to stop allowing the media and the rich to stir up hatred among us. We have more in common than anything that divides us, and we are stronger when we work together." What was the song that's a bit like that? From a distance. When you zoom out and the Bette Midler song, she did a version, a bunch of people did a version of it. It's a bit like that, isn't it? You step out and that's when you see, actually, no, we're the same thing at the end of the day. And there is more it's common between us, even if Space Cannon does get a little upset from time to time. And also Sandra Owen saying, "I sometimes think we should let the children rule the world." That would be interesting, and I think most of our buildings would suddenly be made of Lego if that happened.
Covers versus originals.
Ooh, votes are going in all sorts of directions for this one, including from Sandra saying the original version, please, which I'm going to take, because we're doing covers versus originals on I Drove All Night. And the original is by Roy Orbison, even though it came out after the cover. But so I'm going with that as the original. That's what you mean there. Vicky Weaver saying, "I vote for Cyndi Lauper." And we've even had an email from Stephen as well saying, "Cyndi all the way. She's a legend and she would absolutely drive in the dark to make love to someone, so it's much more believable coming from her." I see where you're coming from there, Stephen, but it's not just his choice. You still have time to vote and decide which version of I Drove All Night is going to play after this fine song from Eternal and BB Winans. I want to be the only one to something, something, something.
Yes, I see.
Be honest, you were singing along, weren't you? Eternal Baby Winans. I want to be the only one to something, something, something. You know the rest of it. And a moment ago, we were talking about letting children rule the world and how the world would be made of Lego in that point. Well, Sandra's made the point that it's better building Lego than building nuclear weapons. I think you might be on to something there.
Bow Radio would like to thank all our sponsors. We couldn't be here without you.
This is Bow Radio with special thanks to our supporters, including Allerton and Booton Toon Council, Notts County Council, One Intent, ABIB Motors, Row Creative, the Workshop Freemasons and Freemasons of Bassett Law, Solar Frame of Goldthorpe for our windows and door, and Sherwood Grange Care Centre as well.
Covers versus originals.
Indeed, it was a very tough decision you were making. I became very close as well in covers versus originals, where you are choosing between the cover version of a song and the original version of a song. Usually, both are absolutely fantastic. In this case, they are. Cyndi Lauper's version of I Drove All Night. It's the cover. It came out before the original, but it's still fantastic. And we also had Roy Orbison, I Drove All Night. Again, fantastic. It was a tricky decision, wasn't it? Even I'm sitting there going, oh, it's very tight. I don't know which way I'd go. You've, of course, gone from Cyndi Lauper. And after this, something's going to happen. I'll explain all in a minute. As chosen by you, Cyndi Lauper's version of I Drove All Night. It's A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Faction Town Radio 2. I'm Marc Steele, by the way. Thank you for joining me this fine evening. Usually, I'd have somebody else with me, but also, and I hate to break the fourth wall here. Can you break the fourth wall on radio? Do you even have 3 other walls? But yeah, I hate to let you peer behind the curtain. That's maybe a better metaphor. But usually, this disorganised mess has a level of organisation that you don't see behind the scenes. You know, a bit like a duck swimming along the water. Looks quite majestic, but underneath it's just absolute chaos. Well, yeah, I wasn't that prepared today. This might be completely rudderless chaos. So if there's anything on your mind that you think, I quite like to have a wee chat about that with you, Mark, well, do get in touch with that. But in the meantime, there is something that is getting on my mind already. And I know we've had a fantastic, glorious summer weekend, but I want to start thinking slightly beyond that. I'll explain all after this one from ABBA. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Gimme, 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 A Man After Midnight. Not something I generally shout, but I'll sing along with it anyway. But it could be worse. We could be singing about paint. Don't give me your emulsion. You know that one, don't you? It's A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Faction Town Radio 2. I'm Marc. Thank you for joining me this fine Sunday evening. And, well, I know we've just had a glorious weekend of summer. It's been great. It's, up to 30-odd degrees tomorrow. I'm not making up. That's genuinely what the weather forecast is telling us. It's going to be great. So I can't believe I'm going to bring up this topic, especially as today is National Bakewell Tart Day, and the only holiday we should be talking about is National Bakewell Tart Day. That's the only thing we should be talking about today. But I do have to touch on the descent into the big C word. I've been seeing a few things creeping in already. I was in a pub the other day, enjoying my fine meal and a pint or 2 or 4 or 8. I lost count at some point. But in the corner, I saw a grand tree that had been decorated in lights and tinsel and all that sort of thing. They're already getting ready, and they tell you, you might want to start booking your Christmas dinner. I was in a garden centre today. It's spread there as well. The infection has reached there, and they had the tree wrapping machine out ready to go. Although if you buy a Christmas tree this early, I don't think it's going to survive all the way to Christmas, a live one. I think you go for 2 or 3 of them at that point. And I have been online to see how many sleeps we've got to go. It's 135 of them. 135, and we're already at the point where people are starting to get ready. And this is a little bit too prepared in my opinion. What we should be doing is we'll be waiting till about, let's say, 24th of December at a push. And at that point, maybe then we should start getting prepared for the big CD. That's just my opinion on it. Maybe you think the same. We'll ignore the practicalities of it actually raining men, because I think that's a bit messy and a bit more horrible than the song makes out. The Weather Girls before that, Mike and the Mechanics with Over My Shoulder. It's A Wee Natter from Bow Radio, Faction Town Radio 2. I'm Marc Steele. Thank you for joining me this fine Sunday evening. You can also, I know it's very high tech, you can watch the radio online at Mixcloud or Twitch TV. You can join the live chat there, including from Henk, who apparently has not just saying that the Mike and the Mechanics are a fantastic band and saying Silent Years is a cracking tune. It is indeed. But he's also met Paul Carrick a few times in Holland in the 90s. Apparently fantastic guy. You would learn that if you went to watch the radio. I know it doesn't make sense when you say it out loud like that, but that's exactly what happened. And on a slightly different note, if you believe you are the next Ansel Adams, I have some for you. After this one from Queen, you don't hear it too often, do you? It's Breakthrough on A Wee Natter. Yeah, you don't hear that one every week, do you? Queen and Breakthrough. It's A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2, where if you believe that you, yes, you dear listener, are the next Ansel Adams, which, if you never heard of him before, is a cracking nature photographer. You know, he used to do gorgeous black and white landscapes. Admittedly not yesterday. I'm sure there are more modern, more up-to-date photographers. But if you're sitting there going, oh, I really think I'm a cracking photographer. Well, Newark and Sherwood District Council have launched a photographic competition. Yes, there is your chance to win. And you know what? You don't even need the fancy equipment either. You don't need to be sending rolls of film down to Boots and getting them back with the daft wee stickers that tell you can't take a photo for love nor money. I used to get a lot of those. I wasn't very good. And then I moved to digital and I still wasn't very good. But anyway, yes, it is summertime, so it's cracking time to get out and about around Sherwood, Newark and Sherwood District, when you get you out and around there. And they're launching as what they call an exciting competition to uncover the secret talent among our residents. So when I hear exciting, I imagine explosions, lasers, smoke effects, oonce, oonce, wob, 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 music and things like that. No, it's still exciting, but it's not that level of exciting. They've put aside a special display area in Castle House. Yeah, you've got to trek to New York, but it's there in Castle House. You can go and see it, and you'll go into reception, and they'll all be there. They're dividing by age, so if you're 17 and under, you can do that one. Otherwise, it's open to everyone. And I want to find the best picture really gets the heart of our wonderful district. Newark and Sherwood is a fantastic place. There are a lot of things, and even a lot of weird and wonderful bits of nature that you don't see in a lot of other places. So there are 4 categories that you can enter: town centres, out and about, and for the younger photographers, industrial architecture and nature and rural for everyone. So if you're thinking about that and you're going, you know what, I'm a cracking photographer, I'm the next Ansel Adams, I want to give you a shot. Well, the competition is already underway and it's running till the 20th of September. Winners will be picked by a panel of judges and the final images will be blowing up. I assume not like that. It would be fantastic. It would be a great way to launch it. But I imagine they're talking about making the pictures big rather than actually making them explosive. And displayed in a prominent position in Castle House reception area. Winners will also get a share of £400 prize as well. If you want to find out more, get onto the Newark and Sherwood District Council website, get in their competitions area and get snapping. What appears to be the album version of the song that shared its bassline with the waltzers and that guy that goes, oh, scream if you want to go faster. And you can hardly hear him, but you know that if you scream, you will be going faster. Anyways, we Natter from Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2. Thank you for joining me this fine Sunday evening. I'm Marc, by the way. Glad to have you on board. And occasionally you do get in touch asking for a fine song or two, including this moment where Vicky Fairriver has asked, can you play Texas? Say What You Want. Well, please. She says, please. Well, because you asked so politely, I suppose we can play it for you. And after Texas, we will be going on Mission Musical Freedom with a bit of a story to it. Find out what that's all about.
Mission Musical Freedom.
It is indeed that part of the show where not only do we channel the spirit of Beelzebub, the devil downstairs, but we also do a sneaky one on the bosses, because the bosses of radio stations are quite picky. They want to ensure that you only hear the very best music, but they can be just a little too picky. And there's a whole bunch of cracking songs that they do not let appear on this fine radio station. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But we have a way of getting them into this fine station. We have dug a little tunnel. We have gone all the way into the archives and we snuck records past the bosses. Yeah, they still haven't noticed that the Smashy and Nicey poster is a bit hollow behind it. And when they do that thing out of the Shawshank Redemption where they punch into the poster and they find there's a tunnel behind there, yeah, I think I'm going to get into a lot of trouble. But anyway, we have managed to sneak another song past the bosses. It's a song you don't hear very often, but it's still a cracking wee tune. And we have gone with, well, a story song. Yeah, we don't hear a lot of those nowadays. They were sort of popular for a wee while. There's a good number of years where I had a whole bunch of them come out. But nowadays, they just don't really happen. You know, you'll get your chorus, you get your verse. There's not a start to finish story to it. So instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to stick one of those songs on for you right now. And the one I've chosen to run with is Stan Ridgway and Camouflage, which is still, even if you're not listening to the story, it's one of those where you can bop along and enjoy the music anyway. That is Mission Musical Freedom for this fine week. And if there's any songs you want us to sneak past the bosses, well, you know how to get in touch, don't you?
Oppan Gangnam Style.
Just to check, I'm not the only person that breaks into that daft wee horsey dance thing that you do to Gangnam Style when you hear it on the wireless. I'm not the only one, am I? Please tell me you do it as well. Sign Gangnam Style, as chosen by Monica Erickson, who got in touch saying, "Hello, Marc." Hello, Monica. Great broadcast as ever. I don't pay people to say these things, you know. I don't bribe them or anything like that. She's also saying, "I recently booked a trip to South Korea / Seoul in May 2025, and now the crazy yet fun song Gangnam Style by Psy is going on repeat in my head." Oh, it's annoying when you have earworms like that. Do you have that song available to play on the air? Well, you have just heard it on this fine radio station. It's A Wee Natter from Bo Radio and Faction Town Radio 2.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Marc Steele on Bo Radio.
It is the top quality, high, proper cerebral quiz where we have one question and no prizes. I suppose I can give you gloating rights and you get to hear the fine noises that are, or if you can answer this fine question for me. And we're going back to the movies, and we're going back to James Bond, which we touched on earlier. And in the film Die Another Day, yeah, you remember the song they did for that one. Yeah, there's a reason we don't hear that one very often. But anyway, in the film Die Another Day, what is the sport in which James Bond takes part? Yeah, what sport was he playing? In the film Die Another Day, what sport is James Bond taking part in? If you think you know, well, you can give me a call. Mansfield, 01623 888 730. You can text me 073 79 78 49 00, or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk and tell me which, I suppose, posh sport he happened to be playing. Another one of those songs you can practice your Big Fish, Little Fish cardboard box routine to. Sonic, It Feels So Good.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Marc Steele on Bo Radio.
It is indeed the quiz that is so cerebral, it has one question in it, and so fantastic it has no prizes other than gloating rights and these fine sound effects. If you're very lucky, or if you're a bit like me. And the question we're asking, in the film Die Another Day, what is the sport in which James Bond takes part? Yeah, it's an older film now, but in what sport was James Bond playing in Die Another Day? Vicky Fairweather taking a shot with polo. I love the idea, and I get it, Vicky, completely random guess, but I love the shot of James Bond playing the idea of James Bond playing polo. And the bit I never got my head around is how polo and water polo are completely, utterly different things. Because when somebody says water polo to you, you imagine that they're on the horses in the water trying to do with the croquet bats and all that stuff as well. Yeah, there's no drowning horses, thankfully. But it makes it a bit less exciting. That's just my personal opinion. Also taking a shot, as of course Hank saying surfing, which is not the one we're looking for. I see where you're coming from, Hank, because if I remember correctly, this is the one where James Bond starts the film by pretending to surf in front of a blue screen, but he doesn't actually play the sport there, does he? That's what I'm going with. And I may not have just nicked this question and answer off some random website and just taken the word for it that's correct. But yeah, that's not the one we're looking for. We're looking for the other one. If you think you know, you've got one more song to get in touch and let me know. And while you're thinking, let's have a bit of a high and take on me.
Bo Radio would like to thank all our sponsors. We couldn't be here without you.
This is Bo Radio with special thanks to our supporters, including Allerton and Bootentoon Council, Notts County Council, One Intent, ABIB Motors, Raw Creative, the Workshop Freemasons and Freemasons of Bassett Law, Solar Frame of Goldthorpe for our windows and door, and Sherwood Grange Care Centre as well.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Marc Steele on Bow Radio.
Thanks for taking part in the top-notch, top-quality, very cerebral quiz where we have a single question and, well, you only get gloating rights for the answer, and you get this fine noise if you're very lucky, or this one if you're a bit more like me when you're taking a shot at these questions. And this week, the question I was asking you, in the film Die Another Day, yep, that James Bond film, what is the sport in which James Bond takes part? Oh, a couple of you have been in touch, including Maureen, saying, I think it was fencing, or am I thinking of Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice? Well, Maureen, you got the correct answer. Also, Daniela Ferry saying the answer is fencing, and Cheryl Warner in touch with fencing as well. So if you managed to get that one, very well done to you. You got a far better memory than I do. And on a slightly different note, there's a question I get asked with alarming regularity, if I'm honest with you, but I never know how to answer it. We'll have a chat about it after this one. It's always a hit at those family disco moments, you know, with weddings and funerals and all the other good stuff as well. I'll let you into a wedding DJ secret, even though I've never officially been one, but this song by the Nolans, I'm in the mood for dancing. It's one of the ones that no matter what age group you're shooting for, will get people on the dance floor. So there you go, the Nolans on A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Faction Town Radio 2. And talking about those family moments, Sandra Owens has been in touch saying, I had my great niece and nephew staying for a couple of days. Oh yeah, that can be both fun and a bit tiring as well, I imagine. My great nephew's tooth came out and his sister told him to put it under the pillow for the tooth fairy. The next morning he was very excited as not only had the tooth fairy left him £1, she had forgotten to take his tooth. So he was repeating the process the next night. I suspect under that pillow the very next morning will be a letter instructing him to go to magistrate's court on a charge of fraud. Or maybe I'm a bit harsh with that one. And talk about family moments. One of the questions that seems to come up surprisingly often, I don't know if this comes up in your life quite as often as it comes up in my one, but when you're going about your business, you meet somebody for the first time, one of the questions that they'll ask is, where are you from? Where'd you come from? And the problem I've got is I have no idea how to answer that question, because you, dear listener, might be assuming you're hearing this fine Scottish accent that is being emanated towards you and think, well, you just say somewhere in Scotland, you say something like, oh, you grew up in Dunfermline, you grew up in Fife. But even as a kid, I moved around. You know, I spent a number of years living in Mankland over in the northwest. You know, that's why my accent's so weird. It's unusual. It's not as strong as it could be. I've also spent, 14 years south of the border now on top of that. So I've spent more of my life in England than I have in Scotland. So do I say, well, actually, you know what? I come from New York and Sherwood. I come from Edwardstowe. I come from Nottinghamshire. Or do I say I come from Scotland when they're asking that question? Which one is the correct answer? I'm going to have to ask you, dear listener, because it turns out, as you saw in the Super Shonky Sunday quiz, you are very clever people. I'm sure you can help me figure out that problem. Duran are claiming they're hungry like the wolf, and before that, Crash Test Dummies going, like somebody's taped their face closed or something like that. Still a catchy wee song though, isn't it? It's A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2. I'm Mark. Thanks for joining me this evening. And it turns out you, dear listener, you fine people, are very smart and you have come to a consensus on the problem of if somebody asks where are you from, does it mean originally or does it mean now? And Maureen's been in touch saying, hi Mark, I say where you were born, but so long as you're happy it doesn't really matter. And Vicky's saying Scotland, if that's where you're born and lived for the first part of your life. There is a catch to that. There is a downside and there is a problem, right? So if I have to admit that means I have to admit in public, and this will be difficult for you to hear, dear listener, but it does mean that I'll have to admit in public, on record, that I, unfortunately, am a Fifer. I know it's difficult to hear. It's even more difficult for me to say, but it's out there now and we'll accept it. And on a slightly different note, it's not only me that screws up. Somebody did it with spectacular style. We'll have a chat about it after some Dizzy Rascal.
Hold your jaw and dance with me.
What I love about that song, Dance With Me, not only have you got Dizzy Rascal and Calvin Harris, the two main characters you can hear singing along, but there's also somebody involved with that song running around, and they must be running around in the music industry, calling themselves Chrome. I don't know whether they're named after the web browser or they walk around covered in clothing that looks like it's made of chrome. I have no idea. I'm just going to imagine both of them in my head and it'll flip-flop between them as the song plays. That's what's going to happen. And on a slight note, I want you, yes you dear listener, to come on a little journey with me. I want you to imagine you've got a wee doggy. And the dog could be called something like Sir Fluffykins the Third or Dave the Dog. You know, it doesn't all matter. Well, we want a name, and it's got to show a happy dog. You know, a dog that it's one you really care and love about. So you've got this dog, and it needs to go and get its teeth cleaned. You're looking at them going, yeah. And it's a bit like those old adverts for the toothpaste where you're going, there's a bit of halitosis in there. We need to get that sorted. So you take your wee lovable dog and you take him off to get the teeth cleaned, and you go, I'll be back in an hour or so. And the dog doctor's there, vet, that's the word I'm looking for, goes, yeah, that's no problem, back in an hour, we'll all be sorted. And then you come back to see your dog and you see that it's got the cone of shame round its neck. And you're like, what's going on here? What? You only came in to get your teeth sorted. Have you been a naughty dog? No, it had not been a naughty dog. It had indeed been spayed. And that's exactly what happened to a dog that went to get his teeth cleaned in Chicago by a vet, but instead got spayed. I've made some mistakes in my life, but I've not made one like that. That's like the dog equivalent, right? Of going in to the dentist, and they go, oh no, we need to put you under to sort you out. And then you come out missing your leg. It's like, I didn't go out to get an amputation, but it's happened. You would not be happy about that, would you? Although I guess you can't exactly hide from that one either. You know, when the dog owner comes back, they're going to know something's happened. It's the Mock Turtles asking, can you dig it? And before that, we were blessing those rains down in Africa with Toto. It's A Wee Natter from Bow Radio and Faction Town Radio 2. I'm Mark. Thanks for joining me this fine Sunday evening. And I have to take it on the chin. You are telling me off, dear listener, with Vicky Fairweather saying, be proud of your Scottish heritage and accent. I thought Fife looked beautiful when I went through it on the train on the way to Shetland. I want to go back and visit some of the coastal areas we passed. And Monica Erickson also in touch saying, my mother's relatives were from Glasgow. Be proud of your Scottish heritage. And I think that's one of the first times in my life, dear listener, I've ever heard somebody saying massively positive things about Fife. And as we continue with the bad news, unfortunately this fine show must come to the end. They only let me on the wireless for a few hours. However, if you stick around with Bow Radio till 4 o'clock tomorrow, Monday afternoon, Marc Waring will be joining you from his time machine. He hops into it, goes back in time, gets all those fresh records from the past and brings them through to now. Like I've just done with this one from Escom 7, It's Reach. I'll catch you next time.